Ready or not, here I come now. Let's play hide and seek. Prepare to be caught. Here I come now. Let's play hide and seek.
Excuse me. I'm sorry to bring you such a tragic story, but I just wanted to fill you in on a little bit of places around Idaho and just how unique in a sadistic way that they are. So this one I know about from a very long time ago. When I heard it the first time, I just was, oh my God. But anyway, here we go. Idaho Gothic. Other American towns have been haunted by rumors of rampant sadism and human sacrifice, but Rupert, Idaho is different. Rupert, Idaho has the body of baby X. May 17th, 1992. At first, those who passed by were not even certain what they were seeing. A trapper checked his lines in the remote sand dunes just south of Minnetonka County landfill, not far from the rural southeast Idaho hamlet of Rupert. Okay, trigger warning, you guys. Big time trigger warning. Please be aware. This is graphic. It's awful. It's sad. All the above. Well, let's see. Not far from the rural southeast Idaho hamlet of Rupert, thought he glimpsed a burned monkey when he peered inside the round metal cylinder. Days later, a group of teenagers out four-wheeling dismissed it as junk, a washing machine tub blown over from the landfill. Hours after that, Robert Bosiger and his young son, who live a mile from the landfill, detoured around the metal drum on their way to pull those teenagers' truck out of the mud. That was at 9 p.m. on Friday, November 17th, 1989. Minutes later, Bosinger's own pickup became stuck, so he and his son started walking home past rises of wet, soft sand and clumps of rabbit bones and the rim of a dark, empty reservoir. The boy reached the metal drum first. Bosinger, coming up from behind, aimed his flashlight. He could make out only the outlines, for his light was dim, but not all that dim. He waited until his son went to bed before calling the sheriff's office. Sheriff Ray Jarvis needed the autopsy report to tell him exactly what he had. It was an infant girl about 3 weeks old, the pathologist advised. An infant girl who had been dead for more than 5 days. Okay, I want you to see something, you guys. We've got November 17th here. 5 days isn't that far from, like 1 day off, right? From the 13th. I mean, they could be wrong about the 5 days, right? An infant girl who'd been dead for more than 5 days. An infant girl who'd been dismembered, disemboweled, probably skinned and burned. Both hands were missing. So was the right arm at the shoulder. The abdominal organs had been cut out, leaving only the lungs and a portion of the upper heart chamber. The body had been placed in the metal drum on its back, clothed, before being torched with gasoline. Jarvis was not unaware of what he might have here. The dismemberment, the metal drum, the burned body, they were all telling. At early press conferences, he and Minnetonka County prosecuting attorney Charles Creason Jr. allowed that they couldn't rule out satanic ritualism. Nor could they rule it in, though it could have been an unwanted birth, they reasoned. The autopsy showed clear signs of pneumonia in the lungs. The coroner called the infant baby X had listed indeterminate for the cause of death. Possibly the baby died of natural death, and the family, panicking, tried to get rid of it quickly. Couldn't predators have gnawed at the body? Any way you look at it, the whole thing just didn't make sense. If it was a satanic ritual, why not call attention, draw a pentagram, make a statement? On the other hand, if it was a scared couple getting rid of a dead infant, why leave it in a dirt road regularly used by four-wheelers? Excuse Excuse me. We'll solve this case, Jarvis told himself. With such a close-knit community, someone knows someone will come forward. Matters haven't played out quite that way, however. Instead of a solution, over the past 2.5 years, this remote wedge of southeast Idaho, known as the Mini Cassia, Cassia, Sue, Terrell Sue, there's that name that you called out, Cassia. There's that name that you were asking about. And I also found another one, by the way. Oh, my hair is standing up on end. Oh, my God. Oh, I literally have chills rushing through my whole body right now. It feels like someone just dumped me in a freaking huge tub of ice because all my skin is just cold. Oh, my God. Hold on just a second. I'll be right back. Okay. Over the past 2.5 years, this remote wedge of southeast Idaho, known as the Mini Cassia, she said Cassius is what she said, but it's pretty darn close. In this Mini Cassia area had endured repeated waves of agitated rumors, waves that grow farther than abate with time. In letters, petitions, telephone calls, and emotional candlelight vigil staged one chilly Friday night last November, anxious citizens have been demanding action against the Satanists who they are convinced riddle their community. What to Jarvis is an unexplained death is to others unmistakable evidence of evil run rampant. At its core, this troubled discord pits those who see affirmation of their world view in Baby X against those who merely see an enigma. It is a type of situation unfolding with growing frequency across the country. Over the past 5 years, some 50 communities have become convinced that they are in the grip of organized Satanists who abuse and sacrifice humans during ritual ceremonies. Epidemics of concern, some say, rumor panics, others call them. Epidemics of concern, some say, rumored panics, others call them. Most occur in rural areas with largely white populations and a good many fundamentalist churches, particularly during times of stress. Most find some support from therapists and some attention from daytime talk shows. Most are fueled by vividly persuasive testimony from people claiming to be survivors or witnesses to rituals. Yet all are flatly debunked by a great majority of national academic experts who study these events. Where is the evidence? These skeptics ask. Where are the bodies? It's what's happening around Rupert. If what's happening around Rupert is in most ways a textbook example of this phenomenon, it is in one critical way also a vexatious exception. It's also a vexatious exception. We do have proof. People here are about to say right off our town square, for 2 years after its discovery, Baby X's body lay unburied and unnamed, stored as potential evidence at Hanson's mortuary on the corner of 6th and G Streets. To many, Baby X's presence at Hanson's has been a disturbingly unavoidable taunt, but to some, it has been a welcome answer to all of the doubters. The difference here, the Reverend Stephen Ogilvie points out with undisguised relish, is we have a body. It would be misleading to say that the Mini Cassius area was entirely unaware of Satanism before the discovery of Baby X's body. Minidoka County, after all, was settled largely by people who are particularly sensitive to intimidations of evil. A uniquely diverse ethnic mix came streaming out of the Midwest into southern Idaho at the turn of the century, and again after World War II, when sprawling reclamation projects and generous homesteading acts turned this barren high desert into irrigated farmland. They brought with them the polyglot of potential faiths. A third of Minidoka County is Mormon, but the telephone book for the Rupert Burley area, which has a combination population of about 13,000, lists 50 other churches in them as well, many of them fundamentalists, Apostolic, Assemblies of God, Baptist, Baptist American, Baptist Conservative, Central Cristiano, Christian and Missionary Alliance, Church of Christ, Foursquare Gospel, Jehovah's Witnesses, Nazarene, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist. These are people equally inclined to bust a living out of sagebrush and raise their voices in prayer. Excuse me, man. I'm just caught up in whatever. Harvest dinners where 12-year-olds get up to sing while old gents play the fiddle are commonplace at most churches and open to everyone. An application for a job can expect to hear a few blunt questions about his religion affiliation. A fellow who too regularly occupies a stool over at the Drift Inn, particularly around 5 p.m., will be quickly noticed. So will a fellow who has a girlfriend as well as a wife. It is not uncommon to hear talk about all the garbage out there, a comment that can refer to everything from premarital sex to lurid movies to sophisticated narcotics trafficking. Oh my God. On certain rare occasions, that comment can also refer to satanic rituals. Over the years, in Minnetonka County Sheriff and Rupert Police Chief occasionally have received reports of mutilated animals, rotting in abandoned barns, and robed figures dancing around campfires on the banks of the nearby Snake River. For a good long time, though, reports were just about all the officers received. Reports were just about all the officers received. They never saw anything when they went to investigate. And there were those who regularly sensed Satan's presence in Minnetonka County. There were none who could provide tangible evidence. There were none until the night baby X's body was found. Oh God. The gruesome discovery at the landfill encouraged those who'd always nurtured suspicions. Soon dozens of phone calls and letters were flowing into the investigator's office. So-and-so is into cult worship. So-and-so wears black robes. Our cat's disappeared. Our neighbor's trying to get his wife pregnant so they can have an infant to sacrifice. Following up these leads, Minnetonka County Sheriff's Lieutenant Randy White and Sergeant Tim Hatcher, on a handful of mornings, found themselves standing at the doors of people who flat out admitted they were Satan worshippers. They found themselves standing at the doors of people who flat out admitted they were Satan worshippers. We do have ceremonies, but we don't kill babies for sacrifice, they said. We only kill people if they need to be killed, is how one particularly blunt fellow put it. Ugh. One day, a haunting, anonymous letter arrived from eastern Idaho. Stop looking at hospital records and assuming that the mother was aware of what happened to her baby, the writer advised. I was a victim many times of Satanists in the Burley, Rupert, and Murtaugh area. Know that in many cases, women are used as breeders for the seed of Satan. Babies were born in the compound, and no records were ever kept. Many times the mothers only lived in a nightmare world and cannot tell you about their child. Babies were not dead before disemboweling. Oh my God. If you hear any, my stomach's just turning right now, so you're probably going to hear something like that. There was no evidence at all for these claims, and of course it is not a crime either to worship the devil or to talk big to a deputy sheriff standing at your door. Moreover, apart from the few ominous-sounding encounters, most citizens simply shrugged when White or Hatcher came calling. Yeah, I wear black robes, so, they'd say, or, yeah, my wife's pregnant, so. Another anonymous letter named 116 area residents, including the prosecutor and judges, as members of the satanic cult masquerading as a Baptist church. But it turned out that every name on the list had been typed directly from the telephone book, right down to the misspellings and topographical errors. All the same, plenty of responsible folks the sheriff, the police chief, the mayor, the prosecutor, ministers, teachers, in time felt compelled to do some reading about Satanism. That reading generated various insights. 4 months after Baby X's death, a therapist in Burley and a sheriff's deputy in adjoining Cassia County began warning that local satanic cult activities was growing at an alarming rate. Reports surfaced of grave desecration. Oh, so they're pulling up graves? They're digging up graves? At the Rupert cemetery. That's what they're doing. Investigators were said to have come across altars. Oh, candle drippings, ashes, small bones, capes, daggers. Ugh. Prosecuting attorney Creason, addressing the Rupert Rotary one day at lunch, spoke about the history and characteristics of satanic worship. The state legislature, watching from Boise, was inspired to adopt a new law making it a felony to commit certain acts with, upon, or in the presence of a child as part of a ceremony, rite, or any similar observance. Nothing in this cascade of dead animals, anonymous letters, and enigmatic reports, however, shed much light on the fate of Baby X. The truth is, by the spring of 1990, the entire investigation had slowed to a crawl. Detectives could not even find the hospital records of the infant's birth. The whole matter might soon have fallen from public attention, in fact, but for a phone call received by Creason one morning, I was Freudian slip, one morning in July of 1990. A child protection official in San Bernardino County, California, was on the line. It seemed a 9-year-old boy in Barstow, being questioned as a possible child abuse victim, had told authorities he'd seen a baby sacrificed, a baby who'd been burned. A boy had also drawn some pictures, including one involving a barrel, a fire, and a baby. This boy's family, as it happened, was from Idaho. More precisely, the family was from the Rupert area. Throughout the summer and fall of 1990, Timothy, the pseudonym given the 9-year-old boy to protect his privacy, told his story to various authorities. My kitty's about ready to jump. Are you jumping? Oh, there she goes. Let me move my copy there. Okay. To various authorities. Creason and Hatcher heard it in July when they flew to California. A Minidoka County school teacher heard it in September after Timothy's family moved back to the Rupert area. Sergeant Terry Quinn of Rupert Police Department. Oh, I hope I'm getting this. I didn't put my earbud in. Oh, I hope I got all this. Darn it. Police Department and Noel Croft's supervisor of special services in the Minidoka County School District heard it around Labor Day when the principal called them to the school. The day Quinn came to interview Timothy, he found the boy sitting on his teacher's lap, clinging tight. It took 40 minutes to get him to talk. They put me on a table with a Bible, the boy finally began. The devil is there. They pray to the devil. The devil makes these people hurt me. They hurt me so bad. They hurt me in my private parts. They sacrifice all animals. They even sacrifice babies. Where do they get the babies? Quinn asked. I don't know. The babies don't have any clothes on. They just put them on a table, and pretty soon the devil makes a fire, and they are on fire. It's a sacrifice. It's in the real Bible. What does a sacrifice mean? It means you burn them and pray with the Bible and give them to the devil. Oof. Quinn asked the boy to draw for him. Blank-faced, sad, frowning characters soon filled 5 pages, along with a fair share of altars and penises. In one drawing, a crowd was gathered around a table on which a figure lay with exposed male sex organs. Another showed 2 people on a table, hearts exposed. Oh, that's when the baby was cut open and his heart taken out, the boy explained. There were among those listening to Timothy a good number who thought the boy utterly believable. In fact, the drawings alone were sufficient to convince some who didn't know of Timothy directly. A Twin Falls psychiatrist, Dr. Richard Wurst, diagnosed ritual abuse as soon as a reporter showed him the drawings without benefit of explanation or context. And school official Noel Croft, who supervises programs for children with special needs, couldn't avoid wondering whether Timothy had seen baby X being sacrificed. The boy gave very believable, accurate information, Croft said. You can't have a kid look up to you, hang on to you, clench your leg, beg you not to send him home without it affecting you. That Timothy's family lived in a ramshack former schoolhouse and kept pet rats did little to alter these judgments. Nor did the fact that Timothy's father, Val Solosobal, was a tall, thin, bearded 43-year-old missing teeth who apparently spent much time writing strange poetry and playing his guitar. They were, at the same time, those who saw problems with Timothy's story. The details varied each time he told it. Sometimes the sacrifices happened in Rupert, sometimes 100 miles to the north. Sometimes only his parents were practicing the rituals, sometimes many others. Precise names were offered at one session, then changed at the next. The boy, who is emotionally troubled and suffers from learning disabilities, was often incoherent and difficult to follow. Timothy's father denied everything. We are being crucified. They have ruined my life in this town, he told a reporter in the fall of 1990. More practically, Timothy's testimony apparently wasn't convincing to those with the power to act. California juvenile authorities had been unable to persuade a hearing judge to remove the boy from his family, and Idaho Department of Health and Welfare authorities did not even try. In truth, some in the Idaho agencies came to regard Noel Croft as a fanatic. Some accused Croft of holding up pictures for Timothy to copy. If we get a complaint like this, we would be obliged to investigate, is all Ann McNevin, regional manager of the Family and Children's Services, would tell a Twin Falls reporter about Timothy's case last fall. Because of confidentiality laws, we would be involved extensively. If we thought a child was in danger, we would notify legal authorities. Could this be a disturbed boy seeking attention? Some wondered. Could this boy have been led by overzealous questioners? More to the underlying point, could people really sacrifice infants? Creason and others were confronting a perplexity that has troubled dozens of communities across the country in the past few years. For days in May of 1989, news helicopters skipped across Mason County, Washington. Mason County, Washington is Shelton. That is where the guys were arrested for that stash house, I guess. Skipped across Mason County, Washington in search of satanic victims' graves. In 1988, parents in Breathitt County, New York, kept their children home from school amid rumors that Satanists planned to kidnap blonde, blue-eyed children. In May of 1988, in Jamestown, New York, dozens of citizens armed themselves with clubs and searched the forest for a band of imagined Satanists. Wherever such stories sprout, there are always passionate discoveries over what to make of them. Okay, when this is done, hopefully I won't forget, I'm going to tell you a story that my grandma told me when I was very young, and it's right along these lines. And I will never, ever, ever forget it. I will never forget it. A good number of therapists, mental health workers, task forces, and mainstream churches have started to take seriously the accounts they've been hearing from a growing number of self-described survivors. When Twin Falls psychiatrist Wurst quickly saw evidence of ritual abuse in Timothy's drawings, it was because he'd seen similar evidence before. I'm a more conservative psychiatrist than most, he said, but when I first began to hear hoopla about satanic stuff, I was skeptical. But in the last 5 years, I've started to come into contact with patients who have been victims of and participated in ritualistic sacrifices. They participated in the abduction of children. They participated in the sacrifice of children. I have had more than one patient describe human sacrifice in a way that I believe. Others, though, are not nearly as accepting. A host of academic and law enforcement experts insist that stories of organized Satanists committing blood sacrifices and sexual abuse are nothing more than a myth and public hysteria perpetuated by Christian fundamentalists and the mentally ill. Therapists who believe people claiming to have survived satanic abuse need to get in touch with reality, says David Raskin, a University of Utah psychologist who has studied reports of ritual abuse. These are the claims of disturbed individuals. I don't think there is any doubt that there are people who practice satanic rituals. The issue is, are children and others being abused and sacrificed? The issue is, as far as I know, there is no concrete evidence. I gotta take a break. It is an intriguing and puzzling debate, and one that provides the underlying context for the Baby X conflict. It does not, however, precisely reflect the questions facing Minnedoka County prosecutor Charles Creason in the late 1990s. The question facing Creason was particular, not general. The question facing Creason was what to make of a 9-year-old boy's stories. Timothy knows something. The boy has seen something. The boy has been exposed to something traumatic, Creason figured. Boys that age don't just talk about sacrificing babies. I agree. But the more he talks, the less credible he sounds. Maybe his experience was firsthand, but maybe it was something he saw on TV or was told. Whatever the drawings and testimony won't play in the courtroom. They don't have forensic value. They just don't amount to legal evidence. Creason, 39, is a discreet, careful Minnedoka County native. His granddad came to the Rupert area in 1919, and his grandmother and his mother's family homesteaded here. His father and grandfather before him each served terms as the Minnedoka County prosecuting attorney, a position he's now held for 10 years. I don't know, he says, shrugging. When asked about Timothy, I just don't know. For a while, after Minnedoka County and Idaho state authorities decided not to act, Timothy and his family continued to live on the outskirts of Rupert in the rundown schoolhouse across from the sugar beet field. Junk cluttered in the front yard, along with a battered white school bus, the family's means of transportation. From time to time, teenagers would drive by to peer at the house, and occasionally someone would call in the middle of the night and hang up. Then one day, Timothy and his family packed up, piled into the school bus, and moved on. Such an unsettling ending held little appeal for those in the Minnedoka area hungry for a resolution.